How y'all doing? My name's Joe. I'm an addict. So, 10 minutes. I'm going to just pretty much go over the past briefly and then kind of get to more of the solution. My name's Joe. I'm from New York. I grew up in a high-strung Italian family. I came out to Prescott 4 years ago for sobriety, or to get sobriety. I did not spend 4 years clean here. I am a chronic relapser. That's part of my story. I know a lot of people out here that isn't part of their story, and God bless them. But for me, it took a little extra effort. Basically, there's very little trauma, very little, bad luck in my history. I had a lot of opportunities, a lot of privileges growing up. I graduated in 2006. I went straight to college. I graduated college in 2010. From the time I was 16 through 21, I drank very alcoholically. I did, all sorts of pills, cocaine, mushrooms, like pretty much every single drug I tried at one point, and I continued to drink alcoholically, going from beer to liquor to pretty much every substance I could get my hands on. Sometime when I was around, I guess I want to say 21, 22, I fell in love with painkillers, probably due to my chemical imbalance that I developed over those several years of abuse. And so I graduated in 2010 and was completely strung out on painkillers. Within 3 years from that date, I was an IV heroin user. And still, like I said, when I couldn't get that, I would pretty much get anything that I could get my hands on, I would do, including alcohol. And it's just like it's a lot of burnt opportunities, a lot of burnt bridges. Regret is a big, regret is probably my biggest obstacle to overcome when I'm, in early sobriety or in sobriety in general. I constantly look back at those, those decisions and that, waste of potential, the waste of talent, and I just let it, become part of my present, and just constantly take me down. Chronically relapse. I build things up really quickly. I tear them down even quicker. So that's what it looked like in the past. Coming into this program, I had worked the steps very briefly in New York. It was very short-lived. I worked them here when I first came out. It did a lot of good for me. I became complacent. I stopped working the steps and once again tore everything back down. Just briefly going over, what it is to me. Like the first step, I'm admitting that I'm powerless, that I can't control in any way, shape, or form my addiction. You know what I mean? It says that the only bless you, sir. The only answer is abstinence. And that's, for me, that's the way it has to be. But that in and of itself isn't the solution. It has to be followed with a lot of change and a lot of work after that. And the change, it doesn't always have to be as grueling as it was in the beginning, but it has to be a constant thing. Because if I'm not working on my recovery in some way, shape, or form, then I'm typically walking towards my next relapse. So it's like, in the first step I get honest, and then in the second step, what I like in the book is that, it talks about how Bill just had like this very, very fleeting notion of like that, that when he says the icy intellectual mountain started to melt, he was talking about how he just got this glimmer of a hope that like maybe there's a higher power. It wasn't like this like, wasn't like this entire like spiritual awakening or whatever. He's just like, if you're not a spiritual person or religious person, you know what I mean, you just have to be open, you know what I mean, and that's why they attribute open-mindedness to the second step, and then in the third step, there's a lot of willingness that goes behind that, you know what I mean, and that's where I find one of my biggest dilemmas in early sobriety is with the willingness. It tends to falter, and then that's when I stumble. So I have to keep my feet moving, and I have to like remember that it's not me running the show; it's my higher power running the show. And I mean, on like not a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis, I'll just run into some kind of dilemma where I'm just like having a freaking full-blown panic attack, and I just literally need to just let go. You know what I mean? The more that I try to grab onto that, the more that I struggle, and I just make it worse. You know what I mean? It's like one of those Chinese monkey traps when there's a jar with a very narrow top, and the monkey, they put food in there, and the monkey puts its hand in there, and it grabs like this shit ton of food, and it just won't let go of a little bit of food. So it grabs this big amount of food, and it can't get its hand out. But if it were to just like put its hand in there and just grab a little bit, it could constantly take all the food out till it's gone. But you know what I mean? As addicts, we like to try to manipulate and tend to like want to control everything. And it's very, very quite the opposite that I find that helps me get past obstacles in sobriety. So another thing, I mean, that I struggle with, and I mean like a lot of people around me struggle with in early sobriety, especially, is taking will back. You know what I mean? Like when I'm working the steps, I'm giving up my will. You know what I mean? I'm giving up my shitty ideas, and I'm taking on those or the notions of my higher power. And so it's very easy to fall back into those like selfish thought patterns, and to get a little bit of like success and just be like, oh, that wasn't God, that was me. Like, look, God didn't lift those fucking beams all day long. I did, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it's like once I start taking my will back, I notice that shit starts to get crazy again, you know what I mean? So that's why I have to remain spiritual. I have to like, learn to just be still, learn to meditate, try to pray. Try not to pray just when I'm suffering, you know what I mean? I find that when I'm praying more when I'm doing well, then it's like, it's crazy, but I don't feel like I have to have as many dog-hole prayers, you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe it's just luck, but I doubt it, you know what I mean? When I'm remaining spiritual and I'm knowing that, you know what I mean, no matter what happens today, like, it will be okay, you know what I mean? Like, for the most part. I just need to let go and give it up to my higher power and know that everything's going to work out. If I keep doing the next right thing, you know what I mean? If I am a good person, if I try to, spread the message of just, you know what I mean? It's not just like with, you know what I mean, people here. I feel like I get brainwashed with the whole recovery scene, but I mean, it's just like sometimes you run into sick people that aren't addicts, you know what I mean? And I have to just treat them like a sick alcoholic, you know what I mean? And just like be like, listen, he doesn't understand, or maybe he's going through something, and just look at it objectively, and you know what I mean? And just go through that situation with something that has nothing really to do with sobriety, and practice the steps that way, and completely just with somebody who's not even has nothing to do with AA. And that tends to, I look at all these things as like lessons. Where am I at? So about a minute left. So yeah, basically, a big thing for me is not nowadays. It's not so much. I've spent a lot of time like talking the talk, and so I really try to concentrate on like walking the walk today. You know what I mean? I don't like to sit. I mean, like honestly, this is the first time I've ever spoke at a meeting, and I did it just because I should do it when I was asked to do it, and like the shit will come to me, you know what I mean? This opportunity came to me, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to go around and talk about how I'm doing good or how I'm doing. People just see that I'm doing good. People, it radiates off of you when you're doing good, that you're doing good, you know what I mean? And that's a big thing, like with my family too, repairing that relationship. I like don't talk to them at all, you know what I mean? They know that I'm doing good because I'm doing good. I'm spending my time concentrating on doing those things on a daily basis and not talking about what I'm doing or what I'm going to be doing. I just like to be a good person, make the next right, choice and decision, not pick up, help people when I can, and just know that if I keep doing those things, that I'm going to be all right at the end of the day because I have a higher power looking out for me, in some way, shape, or form. Some days it's just a little conscious, like a little, bad versus evil type of thing where I'm just like at a crossroads with a choice I can make, and you know what I mean, and God's with me on making that better choice. And sometimes it's just on a more profound, deeper level that I have a connection with my higher power. But that's what helps me stay sober today. Thank you.